So we're up to Chapter 8, Lesson 3, and we're going to be talking about how to graph using intercepts. And so this is an example of an equation that's written in what's called standard form. And that just means that the x and the y's are on the left-hand side and the constant is on the other side. So this is standard form because x's and y's are over here, and then just a constant is over there. And an easy way of solving these type of equations, being able to graph them, is just by going ahead and substituting in 0 for x and then 0 for y. Let me show you what I mean. If I substitute in 0 for x, what I'm left with is this. Y is going to be equal to 5. If I substitute 0 for y, what I'm going to be left with is this. So if I were to graph these, then what I would do is I would graph the pair of points, 0, 5, and then the other pair of points would be 1, 0. And that would just connect the dots on the coordinate plane, and I would be done because I would have a perfectly straight line graph that matches this equation. So here is a new equation, and it's in standard form again because the x's and the y's are on the left-hand side, and just there's a constant on the right-hand side. So if we were to solve this equation using intercepts, what we would do is we'd go ahead and we'd substitute in for when x is 0 and then y is 0. So let's look and see what happens. When x is 0, this would be your equation. So it would be negative 3y is equal to negative 18. So y, when we divide both sides by negative 3, y is going to be equal to 6. So when x is 0, y is 6. Now, for the other part is when y is 0. So that's going to be 2x, because that doesn't change, minus 3 times 0 is equal to negative 18. So that's going to be 2x is equal to negative 18. Divide both sides by 2, you get x is equal to negative 9. So my 2 points that I would use then would be let's see here, 0, 6, and then the second point would be negative 9, 0. Now I would just connect the dots and I would have my line using intercepts. So let's say a line is not in standard form. You can still use this method by just plugging in 0 for x and 0 for y. And sometimes it works pretty well. So let's see here. If I do this problem here, then we go ahead and do for 0 for x, it would end up being y is equal to negative 0 plus 7. So it's just going to be equal to 7. So when x is 0, y is 7. When y is 0, it's a little bit more complicated, but not that much. I'm going to have to substitute 0 for y is equal to negative x plus 7. Subtract 7 from both sides. I end up with negative 7 is equal to negative x. Multiply both sides by negative 1. X is equal to 7. So my points are then going to be, first one's going to be 0, 7. Second point is going to be 7, 0. So here's a new problem, except for this one has decimals, and I don't like dealing with decimals if I don't have to. So since this is an equation, I can get rid of the decimals by multiplying both sides by 10. So I'm just going to multiply the whole thing by 10. When I do that, I just move the decimal places over one space. So this is going to be 21x plus 35y is equal to 105. Okay, great. So now I no longer have decimals. So I'm going to go back to that method of x and y. And when I do that, what I'm going to do is x is 0 and y is 0 and see what happens. So for this first one here, for x being 0, it's going to be 21 times 0 plus 35 times 0 is equal to 105. And you'll probably get to the point where you just get rid of this term and know that's going to happen. Don't have to write it all the way out. But That's what we're doing to start with. So 35y is equal to 105. Divide both sides by 35 and you get y is equal to 3. So when x is 0, y is 3. So the next one is going to be when y is 0. So it's going to be 21 x plus 35 times 0. Remember, you can get rid of that term if you want. So it's going to be 21x is equal to 105. Divide both sides by 21, you get x is equal to 5. So the 2 points I'm going to look at for here are going to be, the first one is going to be 0, 3. Second one is going to be 5, 0. And I'm going to show you how that graphs over in the next page. So here I have the 2 points. I'm just going to graph those 2 points. The blue one is 0, 3, so that should go right about there. And the red one is 5, 0, so that should go right about there. And then if I draw a line, that is going to be graphing using intercepts. So that's just the final process of how you actually graph. Just find 2 points where across the x and y axis, and then go ahead and connect the dots on the x and y axis. And then you've got graphing with intercepts done.